Hi everyone! They say that everything new is actually well forgotten old. But where is the line between similar ideas and obvious plagiarism? And should any reference be considered stealing? Sometimes authors deliberately introduce particular music or a character in a movie in order to pay tribute to another creator. And sometimes our brain recovers familiar images stored somewhere deep in the subcortex. Either way, the creative industry knows a thing or two about stealing other people's ideas, and there is nothing we can do about it. Today, we will tell you about the famous examples of plagiarism in animated movies. Let's get it on! The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. At the end of the last century, millions of kids watched the animated series about 4 mutant turtles named after famous Renaissance artists. By the way, a quick age test. If the opening song hasn't started playing in your head now, then you are most likely under 20 years old. Few people know that the history of these characters is largely connected with another famous comic book character, Daredevil. The creators of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles loved the style of Marvel comic book author Frank Miller. They have also incorporated many references to events and names from Daredevil into their stories. For example, Master Splinter's name was chosen as a parody of the protagonist's mentor in Daredevil, Stick. Even the Foot Clan from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a reference to the Hand organization from the Marvel comics. Can we call it plagiarism? Of course not. This is a common way to put references and Easter eggs. This is a widespread practice in the world of comics and superhero films. But in some case, the authors do not hesitate to copy everything. Take, for example, the series Street Sharks. It was released when the popularity of Ninja Turtles was at the peak. The series tells about teenagers who mutated into sharks and dedicated their lives to fighting crime. A little later, in 1996, another similar series called Dino Avengers was released. Of course, there were 4 characters in each team. Scooby-Doo. And here is another iconic cartoon from the end of the last century. It was released even before the Ninja Turtles, back in 1969. There were many reasons for the staggering success. The series won the prestigious Emmy Award twice. It had an exciting detective story, a generous dose of humor, and very charismatic characters. Scooby-Doo alone was so memorable. By the way, do you know the story behind this unusual nickname? You would never guess. One of the producers of the series, Fred Silverman, was on a plane listening to Frank Sinatra. At that moment, he was still thinking about the name for his new project. The authors were dismissing all the options and could not arrive at a final decision. Then Fred heard the voice of the legendary jazz man singing "Doobie Doobie Doo." The producer loved it right away. Well, he thought that at the beginning he also heard the sound S, so the name of the legendary dog appeared by pure chance. It would be foolish to expect that no one will try to copy such a famous cartoon. In 1973, Goober and the Ghost Chasers was released, a series that looks like a carbon copy of Scooby-Doo. The ghost hunting team, although with 3 members instead of 4, check. The dog helping in the investigation of mysterious cases, check, although the breed is not a Great Dane but an Afghan hound. Poltergeists, ghosts, and other evil spirits, check. But there are also differences between the 2 cartoons. For example, in Goober and the Ghost Chasers, real ghosts helped the team find fake ones, and the dog in the series knew how to become invisible and spoke the human language, though he did this only in order to break the 4th wall, that is, to address the viewers. Gravity Falls. In 2012, the Disney Channel aired this cartoon, which soon became a real hit. The plot of Gravity Falls follows the adventures of 2 twins in the American town of Gravity Falls, where the brother and sister are spending their holidays with the great Uncle Stan. Like any teenager, Dipper and Mabel are bored to death, though not for long. Soon they discover that a lot of paranormal stuff is going on in the city. Several years ago, a very similar cartoon called Volley was released in the Russian Republic of Taristan. According to the creators, the main goal was to inspire the younger generation to learn the Tartar language, but the authors apparently got too carried away by foreign references. The first episode shows us an almost identical Gravity Falls story and characters, albeit slightly adapted to local reality. The protagonist, Volley, is very similar to Dipper. Although he does not wear a baseball cap, he spends his summer with his grandmother. Whether this is plagiarism is a moot point. In any case, the educational initiative of the authors is to be appreciated. Moreover, this is the first project of this scale for the Tasma Media Studio. Now the artists are working on improving the pilot episode and the sequel, where they promise to change the style of the characters and the script. SpongeBob SquarePants.
Patrick?
The legendary Nickelodeon creation, which is still an ongoing series. It needs no introduction.
You know me, SpongeBob.
SpongeBob has become one of the most successful projects for the channel despite its relatively modest budget. More than 10 years ago, a figurine of the protagonist appeared in Madame Tussauds' New York Wax Museum. And this, you see, is an unusual achievement for an animated character from a children's cartoon. Some of the plot lines of this series have a much deeper meaning than is commonly believed. Here's one surprising fact for you. Many SpongeBob fans truly believe the 7 main characters represent deadly sins. Just think about it. Patrick represents sloth, Squidward does not know how to control anger, Mr. Krabs is known for greed, and Gary is no stranger to gluttony. Guess who represents the other vices, and share your thoughts in the comments below. The series has been translated into over 50 languages, from Portuguese to Vietnamese.
Gostas dos hambúrgueres suculentos, não gostas?
Chú thích Krabby Patty, phải không chú Squidward?
China is one of the few countries where SpongeBob has not been aired on TV. Some enthusiasts decided to fix this and created a parody of the animated series, moving the setting to an Asian country. Of course, it was not officially released, but the video got many views online. But the series, Coconut Fred's Fruit Salad Island, was made by the American studio Warner Brothers. It was aired on TV, though not for long. The show had very low ratings, mostly due to being the obvious knockoff of SpongeBob. The plot features an island inhabited by living fruits, and the main character is just a copy of the well-known Nickelodeon character. The only difference is his shape, not square, but round. Adventure Time. The animated hit of the Cartoon Network channel was released 10 years ago and immediately won the heart of kids and adults alike.
Really quiet. Get him!
Though the plot of the animated series can hardly be called kid-friendly, the story unveils on a planet that has just survived a nuclear war. Unsurprisingly, the popular Mad Max film series was the inspiration for the post-apocalyptic universe. 5 years after Adventure Time was released, a very similar YouTube show came out in China. Oddly enough, instead of relentless criticism and accusations of plagiarism, many fans of the original animated series were positive about its Asian remake. The show is called The Legend of Lucky Pie, and its universe and characters really seem to be copied from the American series. But the amazing thing is that it is made by 2 enthusiastic friends without special equipment and budget, and it looks quite good, so the creators perhaps can be forgiven for being copycats. My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. You have probably seen plastic ponies with huge eyes, sparkles, and colorful manes in children's toy stores. At the end of the last century, they were insanely popular. In the period from 2003 to 2010 alone, the American manufacturer Hasbro sold 100 million of these toys around the world. In 2010, the series My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic premiered on TV. It follows the adventures of a pony in a fairy tale world.
Yeah, friendship and flowers and ponies and blue.
The show, which is still ongoing, has been translated into many languages and quickly gained millions of fans around the world. It's funny that the target audience was supposed to be school-age girls, but for some reason, ponies became popular among a considerable number of males, including adults. If you look at the animated series, Philly Fantasia, which premiered last year, it's almost impossible to find differences from the above-mentioned show. The only thing that stands out is, perhaps, three-dimensional animation. By the way, the series was announced in 2013. A trailer was posted on the internet, but the resemblance to My Little Pony outraged fans so much that the premiere was postponed until last year. This time, the reaction from the audience was much calmer. South Park. Immediately after its release on television in 1997, this animated series won the audience with its black humor and unprecedented ridicule of American culture. A huge fan club of the series emerged right away. By the way, did you know that a full-length film based on South Park was mentioned in the Guinness Book of Records? It's not hard to guess why.
Doggy.
Doggy.
Now I want you to say horse.
Hush, that hurt, goddammit!
It features 399 obscene curses, 128 obscene gestures, and 221 acts of violence. Of course, copying the visuals of this show is not that difficult, it has never been exactly praised for animation. The authors created the first episode of South Park by hand, rearranging the cardboard characters for each frame, but a decent adaptation with the same witty script is much more difficult to create. However, there are shows similar to South Park, and not somewhere in Europe, but the Arab world. Yes, in 2000, Kuwait released the series called Block 13 with very similar characters and animations. The plot is also focused on important problems of the Middle East society, but of course without violence and swearing. The Amazing World of Gumball. And finally, perhaps the most obvious plagiarism we've ever seen. Since 2011, Cartoon Network has been airing an animated series about the life of a cat named Gumball Watterson and his adoptive brother, Darwin the goldfish. They go to school together and constantly find themselves in difficult situations. In short, a classic cartoon plot. It sounds toothless, but behind this seemingly simple story, there are cool jokes, some of which only an adult can understand. The animated series has received many awards from the British Film Academies, which says a lot about its quality. In China, they decided to make their own version of Gumball. In 2015, the animated series Miracle Star was released. The creators changed the names and species of the characters. For example, the cat became a goat, but the similarities still remained obvious. If you compare some episodes frame by frame, you will see they even have similar camera angles and dialogue. In such cases, the creators of copyrighted content usually go to court, but Cartoon Network decided to take a witty approach. The authors of the show released an entire series called Copycats, where they introduced the characters of the Chinese series to the plot and ridiculed their attempts to resemble the original characters.
Look at this.
Well, the Chinese company also had to pay $10,000 in fines. Hold on a second. Do you want to see some crazy stories from real life? Nothing dull, only action. Only adventures, chases and fights, love confessions and sudden betrayals. Don't believe us? Follow the link and see for yourselves. Our animation channel Private Diary reveals the deepest secrets. Don't forget to subscribe.